Racist officer. Tried to make a black woman disappear. Then realized. She runs. The FBI. She was driving home, thinking the night was finally over, until flashing lights appeared behind her. Within seconds, a racist officer walked up to her car and secretly threw a mysterious white bag onto her seat. They didn't ask questions. They didn't need proof. To them, her skin was enough. What he didn't know was that the woman he just framed was actually the director of the FBI, and she had a file in her purse that could destroy his life. Before they could arrest her, she pulled out a federal warrant with his name on it. And suddenly, the man who thought he could erase a black woman forever realized he had just ruined his own future. This isn't just one story. This is what happens when racism meets power, and the victim finally fights back. She thought it was just another late-night drive home, until a police cruiser pulled up behind her, lights flashing, engine roaring like a warning. One racist officer stepped out, eyes cold, determined to make her disappear just like others before her. But what he didn't know was that this wasn't just another helpless victim. In her bag was a badge that carried more power than he could ever imagine, a badge he had no idea she owned, because within seconds the roles would reverse, and the man who thought he could erase her life would come face to face with the highest authority in the country. What happens when you try to destroy a black woman and find out she runs the FBI? Her name was Elena Bryant, a highly disciplined black woman who built her life on precision and purpose. By day, she oversaw national investigations no one else could handle, but outside the headquarters, she blended into society like any ordinary citizen. Her apartment was simple, her routines quiet. She never flaunted her authority, never boasted about her rank. To the world, she looked like any other hard-working black woman coming home late after a long shift. And that's exactly how she liked it. But deep down, Elena had seen more corruption than most people could imagine. She didn't just work at the FBI, she ran it. She had spent years exposing domestic hate groups, racist officers, and hidden systems built to destroy people who looked exactly like her. Every morning she left home knowing that her identity alone made her a target, even though she held one of the most powerful positions in the country. And on that specific night, she was working undercover on a massive case involving police corruption. She believed she was almost done. The reports in her briefcase were enough to end multiple careers. She didn't realize someone had already leaked her location, someone determined to silence her before those documents reached Washington. So, as Elena drove down that quiet road, thinking her workday was finally over, a set of headlights pulled up behind her. Blue and red lights flashed violently across her rear window. The officer stepping out of the cruiser had no idea who she was, but he had every intention of making her disappear. What he didn't know was he had just chosen the wrong woman. The officer approached her window slowly, moving like a predator that had caught fragile prey. Elena remained calm, hands on the steering wheel, eyes sharp but composed. Without a word, he demanded her step. Out. No reason, no explanation, just authority mixed with threat. She stepped out quietly, her badge still hidden in her purse. The officer glanced around as if checking for witnesses. Then he reached into her car and, like it was choreographed, tossed a small Ziploc bag of white powder onto her passenger seat. He looked at her with that same expression Elena had seen on countless body cam footages, the sick confidence of a man who knew the law would protect him. Her heart pounded, but her face didn't flinch. She was being framed in real time, and not by accident. This was a warning, a message. Someone had discovered her investigation, and they sent one of their own to eliminate her quietly. The bag on the seat wasn't just drugs. It was a death sentence in disguise. Another police car pulled up behind them. Two more officers stepped out, casually laughing as they approached. Three officers, one target. They started questioning her, circling like wolves, making racist comments disguised as procedures. They didn't ask for her ID. They didn't care who she was. They had done this before. Planted evidence, destroyed lives, buried the truth. But this time, their victim wasn't ordinary. As her pulse raced, Elena's fingers tightened secretly around her small leather folder. Inside it was not only her federal badge, but a classified file linking those very officers to a bigger criminal network. She silently realized this wasn't a random stop. It was an assassination attempt. And if she didn't act correctly, she could disappear forever, just another headline no one would question. One officer grabbed her arm, twisting it behind her back as if already convinced of her guilt. Another reached into her purse, assuming it was just a wallet or phone. But the instant he pulled out her badge and saw the golden crest of federal authority, his smirk vanished. His eyes widened. The other officers paused, confused, sensing something was suddenly wrong. Elena stood tall, shoulders squared, in complete silence. Then she slowly reached for the folder they hadn't seen yet, filled with federal indictments and arrest warrants. The officer holding her stepped back, shocked. The folder's top document had a heading in bold: Federal Corruption Task Force, Priority Arrest Order. And directly beneath it was the name of the very man standing in front of her. The same officer who had planted the drugs. The air changed instantly. The officer's face drained of color, like he had seen a ghost from the future. He lunged forward, snarling, trying to rip the paper away before the other two could read it. But she held her ground, voice calm and lethal as she stated, without raising her tone, exactly who she was: the director of a federal task force investigating police corruption across the state. In that moment, everything flipped. The backup officers hesitated, fear creeping into their voices. Radios crackled with new dispatch orders. A civilian across the street was recording the whole scene on camera. Sirens from a different unit were getting closer, this time summoned by her own team. Panic spread across their faces. The man who thought he could erase her life realized he was seconds away from losing everything: badge, career, freedom, because the woman he tried to destroy was the one person with full power to destroy him. By the time her own federal team arrived, the officers who once stood over her with arrogance were now frozen with panic. The corrupt officer who planted the drugs was immediately restrained, while the others were questioned and placed under investigation right there on the street. Elena handed over her folder, evidence now in the right hands. Sirens echoed, not as a threat anymore, but as a symbol of justice finally turning in her favor. The street that almost became her grave now became the place where the system exposed itself. She didn't walk away untouched. Moments like these leave marks no badge can protect you from. Even as the director of the FBI, she realized that her skin color could still make her a target before her title ever would. That night didn't just prove how powerful she was, it proved how deeply broken the system still is. A system where even a black woman with the highest authority can nearly vanish without a trace. And if this could happen to her, what about the millions without a title, without protection, without anyone to listen? Her story ignited a wave of outrage and awareness. News outlets broadcast the footage. Communities held vigils, demanding reform. She became a symbol, not of power, but of the reality that justice doesn't come automatically. It has to be fought for, even by those who enforce it. And while she continued her work, she carried a heavier truth. Authority alone doesn't make you safe. Courage does. So the next time someone says racism is just in the past, ask yourself, how many more lives have to nearly disappear before we admit the truth and finally change it? Subscribe to the channel for more stories.